We are live on this Friday morning. It's 7:30, which is early for me. Welcome to this second edition of Coffee with Couz. We're going to talk a little West Virginia Mountaineer football today. We're going to talk about some rule changes coming to college football, one of which will be greatly beneficial to West Virginia. We're also going to talk about some changes specifically within the Big 12. And then second half of the show, we're going to talk about some new players added that have been added to the roster over the last couple of weeks for this Mountaineer team right here in the middle of spring camp or fall camp, rather. Thank you for joining the show. For those of you watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If you haven't, please hit the like button. For those of you watching on X, make sure to come over to YouTube after the show's over. Check out my past shows, past live streams. And then for the very first time, we are live streaming this on West Virginia Sports Chat's Facebook page. Thank you to those of you watching there. Again, if you're watching there, please follow us. Please follow the page. Please like the video. Please like our stuff. We got post our articles over there. And also, please come over to Couz's Corner on YouTube once the show's over and check it out. But welcome to Coffee with Couz. Let's go ahead and dive into the show. I don't want to waste too much of your time. There are some rule changes coming to the Big 12 and to college football as a whole. First off, let's talk about what's happening in the Big 12. Some of you may have already heard about this, but the Big 12 Conference is to begin player availability reporting for football and women's and men's basketball. Now, this particular rule, I would have, if I had to be a betting man, and maybe he don't care, but the way Coach Rod likes to keep all of his player information close to the vest, I can't imagine he is 100% happy about this one. But it says, beginning with the 2025-26 season, the Big 12 Conference will publicly provide player availability reports for all conference games in football, men's basketball, and women's basketball. Approved by all member institutions, the policy will include updates in the days leading up to each game, as well as a final report 90 minutes prior to kickoff or tip-off. Big 12 football programs will be required to submit daily reports beginning 3 days before each game. Men's and women's basketball teams will update their availability reports the night before each contest. All reports will be housed exclusively at Big12Sports.com. For football, student athletes must be designated as either available, probable, questionable, doubtful, or out. Basketball designation will include available, game time decision, or out. Now, I wonder if Rich Rod will take the Bill Belichick approach and just put everybody as questionable. That would be interesting. I just can't wait to see how he handles this injury reporting, because we all know Rich Rod. Now, he doesn't like to talk about individual players. At least he hasn't so far in fall camp, at least not a ton. He has told us when guys are banged up, so maybe this isn't a big deal to him. What he's really been keeping close to the vest is who he thinks is going to be, first on the depth chart, those types of things. So it'll be interesting to see how Rich Rod handles this. But the Big 12 Conference, to recap, will now require teams to submit an injury report. I'm sure this is because of the rise in sports betting. And, the Big 12 Conference at one time, and I guess they still have it, had a relationship with a sports betting platform, I think. So maybe this is to suffice them. And just it's kind of getting, coming along with the times, right? We've seen other conferences make similar moves. Now the Big 12 is going that route. As a fan, I kind of like it because I like knowing what players are going to play and which ones aren't. Neil Brown was always pretty open about that stuff anyway, but he didn't have as many press conferences as Rich Rod did. So, sometimes things could happen later in the week that we didn't hear about till game day. So anyway, fans will now get access to the injury report, and then it will also be posted at Big12Sports.com. And I would imagine that West Virginia media will also be posting injury reports when they are submitted to the Big 12. Again, thanks to those of you who are joining Coffee with Couz, the second edition of this show. And we're streaming live for the very first time on the WV Sports Chat Facebook page. Thanks to those of you joining us there. Whether you're getting ready for work, whether you are at work listening, whether you're on your way to work, or if you're just relaxing on a Friday morning, drinking you a nice cup of Joe like me, which I actually will be working today. I'm just trying to knock this out before I start. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the topic. Now, there are several rule changes coming to all of college football. This information was released by the National Football Foundation. And one of these rules, some of these rules are just kind of, boring, I guess you could say. But man, there's one that I think could have a big impact on West Virginia and what Rich Rod likes to do. And we're going to go ahead and start there. And we all know Rich Rod likes to move fast. He has a very high tempo offense. He said he wants to snap the ball every 15 seconds. That's his goal. He wants to be the fastest team in the country. One way in the past that teams have tried to combat that, if you're on the defensive side of the ball, is what? Faking injuries. Well, the NCAA is now implementing a rule to try and stop teams from faking injuries. And here's what the rule reads. To combat the practice of feigning injuries, the Rules Committee passed a rule that if a player presents as injured after the ball is spotted by officials, that team will be charged a team timeout or a delay penalty if all timeouts have been used. That player must remain out of the game for at least one down, even if that team is granted a team timeout, and may not return to the game until receiving approval of professional medical personnel as designated by the institution. So if you go down with an injury after the ball spotted, the team's charged with a timeout. So what are teams going to do? Now, I think this is a good thing. Hopefully, this will limit teams, or at least hopefully fully prevent them, but at least limit the number of times teams fake injuries to try to slow down the pace, try to get their defensive players a breather. We've seen it happen all over college football, right? Hopefully this will help. I don't think it'll put a total stop to it because teams are always going to figure out a way around the rules. One way I see people doing this is, as soon as the play's over, you tell a player, okay, after this next play, I want you to go down as soon as the play's over, or stay down rather. Don't wait till the ball spotted, because I guess if you do it before the ball spotted, then they're going to assume you got injured on the play, and therefore I wouldn't think the rule would be implemented, right? But we'll see how it works. But with the helmet communication now, I'm assuming that a coach will be able to communicate with a player immediately. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that works. But anyway, we'll see. But I think, with Rich Rod, the way he likes to move fast, I think this is a good thing for West Virginia. Now, at first, I knew this rule was coming, but I thought that the only penalty was going to be a player having to leave for the next play. And and shout out to Tony Caridi over at Three Guys Before the Game. He was like, look, teams will just put in a guy who's a backup, have him go down, take him out, and then put the starter back in the game. But if a team has to lose a timeout, that's a big deal, right? And if you don't have a timeout, you get a delay of game penalty. Nobody wants a penalty. Coach Rod's talked about penalties and how bad that hurts a team multiple times through this fall camp in his pressers. But coaches do not want to lose those timeouts. Timeouts are precious. You only get, 3 or 4 per half. So you don't want to lose those. So this hopefully will help teams from doing that, or prevent teams from doing that. And for the teams that like to move fast, like a West Virginia, like our Coach Rod, it should be beneficial. And that's why I've got on the thumbnail, not slowing him down, because he's going to move, snap, 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 run it down your throat, hit you deep, whatever. He's going to do it very rapidly. He wants to run about 90 to 100 plays a game, he said. Wants to be the fastest in the country. All right. Let's go ahead and touch on some other rules that I don't think, are quite as important to West Virginia, and some of them are a little bit, we probably won't even notice, to be honest. But the first one is timeouts and extra periods. Each team is permitted a team timeout in each extra period. That's normal. But what's being added is, here's what's being added. To keep the game moving now, each team shall be allowed one timeout for the first extra period and one timeout for the second extra period. After the first 2 overtime periods, each team will be allowed only one timeout from the beginning of the third extra period until the game is ended. In addition, media timeouts will only be permitted after the first and second extra periods. So there will be no media timeouts in the first and second overtime. That's a good thing for us fans, right? We get tired of the commercial breaks. And then teams will only be able to call one timeout in the first overtime, one in the second, and then only one total from the third overtime on. So these games that go into 5-6 overtimes, coaches aren't calling 3 timeouts in every overtime period, or 2, however, or 1 per period rather. They were calling 1 timeout in every period to try to set up a play or get their guys a rest or whatever. You won't be able to do that. If you're in 5-6 overtimes and you've already called and you called a timeout in the third overtime, you don't get another one. They got to get the game over. That's the thinking here. Instant replay now, instead of saying the call is upheld, instead of saying the call stands or confirms, we're not going to know that now. They're just going to say the call is upheld. Before they would say the call's confirmed, which means they, basically it'd say the referee's got it right, or they'll say the call stands because there wasn't enough evidence to overturn it. Now they're just going to say, hey, the call's upheld. So we won't actually know, hey, was there just not enough sufficient evidence, or was the referee actually right here? Those are the things that they're going to change there. Any T signal, players a lot of times on kickoff return will give a T signal to let their teammates know that the ball's not going to be returned. Well, now a T signal given by a returner during any kick will now also be considered an invalid signal and will deprive the receiving team of the opportunity to advance the ball. It says the signal evolved as a signal to alert teammates that a kick returner was not going to return the kick. So any player giving a T signal, because what they can do, I'm assuming the thought behind this is, hey, you can fake the defense out, give a T signal, like you're not going to return it. The defense would kind of slow up, and then boom, you catch it and take off. Not going to be able to do that anymore. You give a T signal, it's basically the same as a fair catch in this point, is the way I understand it. Disconcerting signals. They're going to crack down on defenses now barking out signals. They actually have the terms move and the terms stem, which is one I'm not even familiar with, are now reserved only for defensive cadence and may not be used by the offense. However, you know how a lot of offenses like to clap to let their center know to snap the ball? Offense now is going to be the only side of the ball that can clap. The defenses will not be allowed to clap because that is basically psyching out the offense. It can cause them to jump off side or, false start, whatever. That won't be allowed anymore. I don't want to go over all these. Some of these are just boring. What's this one here? Yeah, I don't need that one. They're going to be able to wear a special type of eye shield now. Defenseless players. This is a good one. A player attempting to recover a loose ball is now added to the list of defenseless players. So if there's a fumble, the ball's rolling on the turf, and you're running up to try to jump on that and recover it, and the defender or the opposing team comes up and hits you, you're defenseless because you're looking down at the ball. You don't have your head on a swivel, right? Somebody comes up and hits you, boom. That could be a 15-yard penalty. I don't really have an issue with that one. I know a lot of people probably don't like it because they're going to be, hey man, it's football, but they are trying to keep the players safer. Here's one that I've seen them passing a lot of at the high school level in several states, including West Virginia. A lot of, and I don't even want to do this here on YouTube or any of these social media platforms because they might dock this video, but basically you've seen athletes after they make a shot, after they score a touchdown, make a big play, whatever, they make their fingers in the shape of what? A weapon, right? That's not going to be allowed anymore. You do that now, it's a 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. Any type of simulating a firing of a weapon is an automatic unsportsmanlike conduct penalty and 15 yards. I'm a little bit torn on this one. I understand it. I understand that they don't want to make it look like they're promoting any type of violence. But to me, when guys do this or players do this, they're just having fun, man. They like to use the bow and arrow gesture or other gestures. And to me, it's just all in fun. I don't think it's a big deal. I think this is another way to zap a little bit of fun out of the game. But I also understand the reason behind it. I'm just not sure I agree with it. I think it's a little bit too much like cancel culture, if you want my honest opinion. But at the end of the day, I guess it's really not that big a deal. I'll be anxious to see what your all's thoughts are on that in the comments section. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and jump over to some comments. I've got 135 people watching between the three platforms, X, YouTube, and, of course, Facebook. Before we get into the second half of the show, which we're going to talk about some West Virginia players, we've got Nathan Scott in the house. That's right, Nathan. I got my coffee and my West Virginia travel mug. It's going to be a good day, my friend. It's going to be a good day. Luke Bart, what's up, man? Jason Blood Church in the house. He's got his red dirt coffee. Got Brandon Bailey in the house. What's up? I know you're an early riser, Brandon. As you see that badge beside Brandon's name, that means he's a VIP member. Their comments get first dibs, and they also get random shout-outs. As a matter of fact, Brandon's name's along the bottom of the screen in this video. He's one of the random shout-outs for today. Thank you for joining the show, brother. Jersey Ear in the house. Says, I can't remember the last time West Virginia played an overtime game, maybe Oklahoma in 12. Yeah, it's been a while, for sure. Got Tosh Miller, Larry Westfall, Michelle Weintraub. Thank you all for joining. Again, very first time we're airing live on Facebook, WV Sports Chat. That's a site set up by myself and my partner, Jonathan Martin, who does the Golden Blue Breakdown show with me just about every week. We didn't have a show this week because I was out of town for work. But, once the season starts, man, we're going to be knocking these babies out, and we're going to start airing the show live on Facebook each week. So for you people who like to watch Facebook Lives, WV Sports Chat's where you want to be on Wednesday nights, usually around 8 or 8:30. Be on the lookout for that. And look, if you're not watching this live, no sweat. You can watch it on the replay on YouTube. But either way you're watching it, please make sure to give that thumbs up. It lets YouTube know, hey, I like this content. I like this show. I like what Couz is. I like what he's putting down. And it helps them push that. It'll push my show out to more people. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. I'm trying to get to 10,000 subs. That'll really help me. And share it with your family and friends who like Western Mountaineer sports so they can sub as well. Crystal says the way the world is now, no problem with it. Yeah, it's not that big a deal at the end of the day, I don't guess. But I also understand, when I was a kid, I remember playing cops and robbers and things like that. It never made me want to actually go out and physically hurt somebody, right? But I do understand we live in a different time. I do understand, they're trying to prevent any type of perception of violence or anything like that. So, do I love it? No, but at the end of the day, I guess it's really not that big of a deal. Shane V's another VIP member. He's in the house. He says, leaving the musket in the clubhouse from now on so we don't get penalties. Yeah. I'm assuming they'll make an exception for that, Shane, but we'll see. I'm actually surprised somebody hasn't complained about that. And I'm sure they probably have at some point. But it is a musket. It's a hunting rifle, right? I think most people anyway, look at that differently. By the way, if you guys have noticed the last few shows or last couple of weeks, my camera quality's not quite been as good as what it used to. My webcam that I was using went kaput on me. It went out on me. It died on me. I do have a new one on order, but in the meantime, I've been just using the camera built into my laptop, which obviously the quality is not quite as good. It's a little bit grainy sometimes, but hopefully you guys don't mind it. We're just working with what we got here. The new camera is on order and will be here hopefully any day now. Or at least by the end of the week, next week. All right. Want to take a quick minute to shout out my sponsor, Appalachia Digital. Speaking of WV Sports Chat, the new site, WVSportsChat.com, was designed by those folks over at Appalachia Digital. They did a really good job. If you want to design you a site, go to AppalachiaDigital.com/Couz. Let them know I sent you. And, if you already have a site, if you have a small business or even a personal site and you want to, level it up, improve it. If you want to get found easier on Google and Google searches and things like that, they can help with that too. They do more than just designing new sites. They also help you with your current site. AppalachiaDigital.com is where you need to go. All right. Good morning, Todd. How you doing? Let's go ahead and jump into the second half of the show. I want to talk about some of these transfer portal players that West Virginia has brought in over the last couple of weeks. Some of this is old news. I just haven't covered it yet. Some of it is not. Some of it's newer. But we're going to talk about all of it. The first player I want to talk about is, in the first two really are on the defensive side. Actually, the first three are all on the defensive side of the ball. But anyway, linebacker Caleb, and I hope I pronounce his name right, Caleb Nuhi Yandal, or Nuhi Yandal. He comes from Cerritos Community College. He's I've seen him listed as, I've read some articles that say he's listed as a junior. Some say he's a senior. I'm not really sure. But anyway, he's 6 foot tall, 240-pound linebacker out of Cerritos Community College. He actually played a year at Wyoming before going to Cerritos. But his high school was Banning High School in California. He was a first-team all-conference player at Cerritos Community College in 2023. He had 52 tackles, 45 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, an interception, and 2 pass breakups. So he's a really good football player. And when I watch his film, here's really what I discovered about this young man. He gets downhill really quickly. He plays with a really high motor. He seems like a smart football player. He has good instincts from what I could see on the highlights. And again, this is very limited what we're seeing, and we're only seeing the highlights. We're not seeing the negative plays. He can move sideline to sideline and run down ball carriers. He's good in pass coverage. Like I mentioned, he did have an interception and 2 PBUs as well. So he can drop back and cover guys, in the slot or out of the running back position or whatever. But I'll tell you what I just really like about this young man. When you watch his highlights, man, he plays with an edge. To me, he's a perfect fit for what Rich Rod and his team wants to do. He plays with evil intent, so to speak. And obviously, I mean that in as a compliment and within the rules of the game. But he wants to flat out hit you, right? He's coming at you with the intent to hurt, to put you on the ground, to get you down, and to make sure you're not getting the ball up the field. I mean, he's coming at you with intent, right? Plays with an edge, and I like that. I think he's going to be a good fit. Now, is he going to come in ready to play? I don't know. He's obviously a couple weeks behind the other guys in camp, so he's going to have some catching up to do. But anytime you get a player that size at that position, I think it's a good thing. Zach Alley I know he likes guys who are smart at the linebacker spot, and apparently he sees that in this young man. So I think this is a good pickup. Can't go wrong here. Even if the young man doesn't get to play a lot, he could be a really good special teams player. He could really help you out there, and he could also be a solid body in the room as a backup, even if, that could give you some depth and help you out and give you another body at practice. And it's a body that's going to be beneficial to you because he's big enough to play at that level, at the Power 4 level, and he has experience in community college, so he's older. He's an older player who, like I said, he did spend a little bit of time at Wyoming. I don't think he saw any snaps there, but he did play. So he does have a little bit of a connection to some other guys on the roster, like Braden Siders, for example, who transferred from Wyoming in the offseason. But I like this addition. I recommend you go watch this young man's highlights. Again, it's Caleb Nuhi Yandal, or Yandel. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Really good football player at the linebacker spot that the Mountaineers brought in. Great pickup for this team. The second player I want to talk about, also on the defensive side of the ball, is Oli Omatosho or Omatosho. I'm not exactly sure. Or Olu Omatosho. He's another defensive player. He's 6'2", 256 pounds. He's an edge rusher, transferring over from Oregon State. He's originally from Houston, Texas. He did spend 3 years at Wyoming, another Wyoming connection, before coming over to Oregon State, where he's been the last 2 seasons. Unfortunately, he was riddled with injuries last year. He did play in 9 games, but he was banged up for most of the year. Had 14 tackles, 6 QB hurries, and a tackle for loss. His best season so far was his 2022 season at Wyoming, where he had 46 tackles, 6.5 sacks, and a forced fumble. So he's shown that he can do it at the FBS level. So I like this transfer. You know, we all know about the situation with Jamoy Robinson. He's one of the 4 players involved in the lawsuit suing the NCAA. And there's a possibility he won't be eligible to play. So, and he was one of the guys they were leaning on to rush the passer. Well, they're bringing in Olu Omatosho. I think I saw he was listed as either a 4. I think I saw that he was listed as a 4-star transfer by On3. If you can get a 4-star transfer this late in the game, I mean, right here in mid-August, that's a win. That's a win to me. He has experience. He's an upperclassman. He's played at a high level. He's played at the Power 4 level. Like I said, he's been 2 years at Oregon State. You know, for his first year at Oregon State, they were in the Pac-12. So he's played in the Pac-12. He didn't play a ton, but he's played there. He's practiced against Pac-12 players every day. And again, he had some time at Wyoming as well. So I like this pickup. Again, he's going to come in a little behind everybody else, but with his experience, I don't think it'll take him long to catch up. And anytime you can add a quality pass rusher to your room or to your team, you do it. And I think they got that here. Can never have too many of those guys, especially since you got one that may not be able to play because of eligibility. The other one I want to talk about, the third one I want to talk about is another defensive player. This one is a little bit more head-scratching, I guess, but from everything I've read online, he is coming over as a preferred walk-on. So no harm done there, right? His name's Hubert Hendrickson III. He's a defensive back out of Middle Village, New York, coming over from Franklin Pierce University. It's a Division II school. Couple concerns here with this young man. Number one, he's 6'2", which I like. He's got that length, but he's only 160 pounds right now. So he's definitely going to have to hit the weight room. He's definitely going to rely on that nutrition staff to help him gain weight. 160 pounds is little for a 6'2" guy. I mean, I was one of the smallest players on my high school. I went to a small high school compared to most of these guys, and I was one of the smallest players on my team. As a senior high school, I was about 5'8.5", about 160 pounds. And I was small. This young man is about that same weight, but he's 6'2". So he's very, very skinny. Another thing that concerns me, he has no experience at the college level. He did not even play, the best I can understand, at Franklin Pierce University last year. So he was not even able to, I know he was a true freshman, but he was not even able to get on the field at a D2 school. So how is he going to get on the field at West Virginia? The answer, he probably won't. Let's just be honest. This young man's coming in. I consider him a project player. He's a walk-on. Give him the opportunity to bulk up. Give him the opportunity to gain weight. You know, he does have some athleticism. He was a track runner at Franklin Pierce. I think he ran track in high school. Not super fast. He ran 11.43 100 meters, which is not blazing fast, but it's also not slow. It's faster than I could run one, probably. But at least now. But, you know, give him a shot. Like I said, if he's going to be a walk-on, you know, you're not using a scholarship on him. Does he get rev share money? I'm not sure. But bring him in, see how he can do. He gives you another body in the room. And who knows? With the proper development, maybe he turns out to be a pretty darn good player. The staff must see something in him, or they wouldn't have brought him over on the roster. And I'm putting faith and trust in this staff that they're doing the right thing. So let's give them the benefit of the doubt. All right. And I actually misspoke earlier when I was talking about the linebacker Caleb Newhy-Yandall. He did not play at Wyoming. Okay. It's this next player that I'm going to talk about who played at Wyoming. And this is the one I'm the most excited about. And his name is Tyler Jacklich. And he is going to help fill the depth problems, hopefully, at running back. Now, we've all heard about Ty Edwards. He's also one of those players involved in that lawsuit against the NCAA fighting to get eligibility. Tyler Jacklich, coming over from Merced College out of California, another California kid, 6'2", 223-pound running back. So he's a big-bodied running back. Somebody that can get you some some yardage and short yardage situations, somebody that can run over people if you need him to, somebody who can help push the pile if you need him to, get that 1-2 yards that you need to get, the role that many thought Ty Edwards might play. But again, what if Ty Edwards is ruled ineligible? They had nobody else on the roster really to fill that role. And Coach Rod said they wanted a guy. They went and got a guy. He started his career at Wilmington 23, did not play. Then he transferred over, at least didn't play much. Then he transferred over to Merced College. What I like about this young man, yes, he's big. He's 6'2", he's 223. He's big enough to play right now. But despite that 6'2", 223-pound frame, he runs a 4.48 40-yard dash. He's fast, folks. 4.48 is fast for a guy who's 6'2", 223. He can flat out run people. And I like that in this young man. I think that's a great pickup. Go watch his film. I think you'll be impressed. How a young man like this was available this late in the game is kind of shocking to me. But his senior year high school, listen to these stats. He rushed for 2,278 yards on 201 carries with 32 touchdowns his senior year high school, which was third in the state of California. His rushing yardage was third in the entire state of California. A state that's, A, it's large. It has a lot of people. B, it's a state that puts out really good football players. Yes, this is coffee with Couz, so I'm having some coffee this morning. But they put out a ton of really good football players. And for him to be the third highest rusher in the state is impressive. He had, while he was in the portal, he also held offers from Louisiana Tech and Middle Tennessee State. But again, this is a guy that they picked up late in the process. Most of the players that you pick up late in the process are guys other teams don't want for the most part. To me, this guy, I think, has a chance to be good despite that. Last season at Merced College, listen to these stats. Ran the ball 163 times for 842 yards and 9 touchdowns in only 8 games. So he put up a lot of yardage in a short amount of time at Merced College to junior college level. He also caught 12 passes for 103 yards and 2 more touchdowns. So he has good hands, can catch the ball coming out of the backfield. And which is another thing that you want to see in an offense that likes to move fast. And they like to have different options. And we know Rich Rod likes to get the ball in the hands of his playmakers, whether it be through the air or on the ground. Usually likes to do it on the ground, but he will do it through the air if needed, as I did a video on that just a few days ago. But I'm telling you, go watch this young man play. I think you're going to be impressed. Watching his highlights, here's what I took away from it. Man, he gets to full speed quick. His first step is quick. He hits that hole quick. He gets the ball, it doesn't take him 2, 3, 4 steps to get up to speed. He's there. He hits it. As I mentioned, allows him to hit the hole very quickly. When he sees that hole, boom, he's in it. Runs downhill. He's not a guy that's going to try to juke you. He'll make one cut and go. Really good straight line speed. I mentioned his 4.48 40 time, and that's a laser time 40, so that's an official time, according to him. Doesn't have to, like I said, he's not necessarily going to juke you, but he can run through you or run by you in a lot of cases. Right? Now, 4.48, at the power 4 level, is that blazing speed? No, it's not blazing speed. But for a guy that's 6'2", 223, that's pretty darn good. And he's going to be able to outrun some D linemen. He's going to be able to outrun maybe some linebackers. But this is a guy that you need. If you only need him to get 1, 2, 3 yards, he's going to be able to do that for you. And I think that's a great thing. I just now noticed there's a reflection on my light reflecting off my shirt. I just now noticed that. Anyway, it kind of distracted me. And he runs. I mentioned the linebacker Caleb Nuhi-Yandal, how he played physical and played with a high motor, and was coming up to hit you with ill intentions. Tyler Jocklich runs the ball like that. He runs the ball with ill intentions. He runs it with aggression. That's the word. That's what I wrote down. He runs with aggression. He's physical. He's tough. He's going to try to run you over, but he's also fast to go along with it. So I really think this is a great pickup. this late in the game, especially if you need to replace somebody like a Ty Edwards. We know that Jalen Knighton has been ruled ineligible, so he's not going to be able to play this year, the transfer from SMU due to an academic issue. So, I'm sure there's not a ton of running. They're talking about maybe bringing in Andre Devine, but he's a small, speedy back. Jocklich gives you a big body back that you can put back there with those smaller guys. So I like this pickup. I really do. I think it's a good addition, again, especially in the middle of fall camp. How long will it take him to get up to speed? And again, this could even be a good special teams player. Even if he doesn't see the field a lot on offense, he can be a good special teams player for you. Maybe not saying he'll be a returner necessarily, but he could be a blocker or even someone that plays on kickoff coverage or punt coverage even. Who knows? He's got the size to do it. Shane V., the VIP member, says, why are JUCOs having to file lawsuits over eligibility? Charlie Baker needs to go back to politics and having his wife get him work. Yeah, Shane V., man, you got a great point. They ruled in the Diego Pavia case that basically saying, hey, JUCO doesn't count against you, yada, yada. There was some caveats to it, I know. But then all of a sudden, other JUCO players are trying to get eligible, and they're not being ruled eligible. It's almost like the NCAA is trying to speak out of both sides of their mouth, as we like to say. JUCO either counts against you or it don't. Make up your mind, right? So it'll be interesting to see. I personally feel good about the case. I think West Virginia, those players I think they'll win, but it's not set in stone. The NCAA has been winning more cases than they did in the past. There was a case that came up. I think there was an Indiana player that sued the NCAA as well. The first stage of his lawsuit was a victory. It's going to continue on, and he actually got ruled eligible to practice by the judge in his case. And then the actual hearing is August 27th to find out whether he's going to be eligible or not. So we'll see when these West Virginia players go to their hearing here in a few days. Maybe they'll at least get a temporary restraining order where they can practice. But we'd love to see an official ruling on it at least so that they can be available in game one. But, we'll see. I think you have to have a certain amount of practices in before you can play a game. Let's hope they're able to get that some way, somehow. And look, I don't look for them to be ready to go by the Robert Morse game. I think it'll be too late in the process. But if they can be ready by game 2, maybe against Ohio, I think that's a step in the right direction. All right. Or heck, even if they're not available to the Pitt game, it's better than nothing, right? And thank you guys for tuning into this live show on this Friday morning. If you weren't able to catch this live, no big deal. You can catch the replay. Either way, the thumbs up button below is a really good way to help me out. It's free. It's easy. It really helps the YouTube algorithm. Subscribing to the channel, making sure your notifications are on to be notified of future shows. Man, that reflection is getting really distracting, isn't it? I got to fix my light. Anyway, hopefully that's not a big deal for you guys. I know it is for me, but it doesn't take much to distract me. I think I got a touch of ADD or something. But anyway, got Browns and Beers in the house. Another VIP member says, morning, Couz and everyone. Good morning. Good morning, brother. Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate the compliment. This is not going to be a super long show. Just want to get on here and go over these new rule changes for the NCAA. If you missed the first half of the show, there are some new rule changes coming in college football. I recommend you go check out the replay of the show. Michelle Weintraub's in the house. Says Rich can always find the overlooked talent. That's exactly right. He's good at doing that. He's always done it in his whole career. Also says that describes WVU perfectly, overlooked talent. Absolutely. Nathan Scott says, do you see this high school NIL deal working in single A sports like smaller schools? And what Nathan's referring to there, the state of West Virginia passed a bill allowing high school players to make NIL money. And a lot of people are not happy about it, but, we kind of knew it was coming. Other states are doing the same thing. Yeah, it'll be harder for smaller schools, absolutely, because smaller schools typically don't have they don't have as many people in the community to support them. They're normally not going to have as many people who can donate money, and not as many businesses in the area. And well, it ain't donate money; it's NIL money because they're not allowed to. There are pretty strict rules around it, but there won't be as many companies available potentially to support because that's a smaller town, smaller community, right? But I do think there are some single A schools out there who will get good support because a lot of these small communities really, really love their teams and are passionate about their teams, and they'll be able to find some businesses to give them some NIL deals. But yeah, it'll be teams, the 4A schools, the AAA schools that will likely have the most NIL opportunities for their players, no doubt about it. Browns and Beer says just catching the end, sadly, from what it sounds like, will catch the replay. Excited for week 1, though. Me too, man. It can't get here fast enough. I'm getting tired of talking about football without actually seeing the football played. You know what I mean? I can't wait to do game recap shows and preview shows and those types of things. That's what I really, really can't wait to do, especially after a West Virginia win. It's really fun to get on here and do a post-game show after a win. Not much like, especially a big win. But thanks for joining the show, brother. We appreciate you. And thank you for your continued support. Again, you all see that badge by his name. That means he's a paid VIP member. It's a very inexpensive way to support the show. It's either $2.99 a month or $4.99 a month. You get random shout outs. If you're a $4.99 a month member, you get access to some early content as well. And once in a blue moon, I'll throw out some special content. For example, I had a blooper. I was trying to film a show the other day, and I had a blooper where I messed up. Obviously, that got edited out of the final product, but I thought the blooper was a little funny, the way I reacted to it. So I decided to cut that off and put it in a separate 30-second video for my VIP members, for my $4.99 club level VIP members to check out. Just little things like that I'll do from time to time for my VIP members who are at that second level. And then all the members get the random shout outs. But speaking of random shout outs, the ones for this show are Bill G, Tom Reinhart, Brandon Bailey, Denny Allen, Houston Cougars, Germany. Thank you all for your paid VIP membership. Another way to support the show, we're almost done here, but for future reference and another good way to support the show here on YouTube, down below, if you want to leave a comment, you can highlight it. Make sure it gets read by dropping a super chat. You highlight your comment, make sure your comment gets read or your question gets answered, and it's also a way to make a small donation to the channel. I want to give a shout out to the Rogue Sports Network, part of the Rogue Media Network. Proud to be a part of their team. We do have a newsletter, a 365 sports newsletter getting ready to come out. That's also part of that Rogue Network. Be on the lookout for that. Myself, Craig Smoke, some of the guys from Sons of UCF, and some other really great content creators are part of that team. Looking forward to putting out a newsletter. You'll see the first version of it out in just probably any day now. Then there'll be a full rollout expected next week. So I'm excited about that. And then just there's a lot of exciting things, the Gold and Blue Breakdown shows we do weekly with Jonathan and I do weekly. The website, WVSportsChat.com, we've got that growing. Our Facebook page is growing like wildfire. Please share that with your friends. And if you're not on the WV Sports Chat Facebook page, please go support it. Please go follow it. There's also ways there you can donate to us and what we're doing over at the website. So please do that as well. I really appreciate you guys tuning in to this early morning show. I do have to work today, but thank you for joining this second edition of Coffee with Couz. Hope your Friday or whenever you're watching this is top shelf. God bless you, and Q Country Roads.